Right now, the federal government is poised to shut down. How that could affect you.
Whether a Wisconsin agency decided to suspend the license of a head veterinarian at a breeder accused of animal abuse.
You're watching News 3 Now, live at 4.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us on this Tuesday. Happy October Eve.
Oh, here we go.
Can you believe it's October tomorrow?
I think it's still July out there.
That's how it feels.
I know. I have so many fall sweaters that are just sitting in my closet. They look very sad right now.
Yeah, they are.
And it looks like we'll be waiting for a while. That summer heat continues to linger. Here's meteorologist Jacob Montesano with our first warn forecast.
Thanks, guys. We are seeing some very warm temperatures once again today. We're talking about these high temperatures in the 80s once again. Looking across the area, middle to lower 80s, so maybe not quite as warm as what we saw yesterday, but still very easily above normal. A few areas still in the 70s, but for the most part, it is certainly a warm one out there. And on top of the warm weather, we continue to be very dry. Looking at the current radar, not seeing anything, and expanding the radar out. The entire Midwest and Great Lakes region very dry at this hour. So we continue to be warm and dry, and throughout the evening it's going to be very comfortable, as most of the evening will feature 70s to upper 60s. A little bit more cloud covered though as we head into the overnight hours, and that will keep the temperatures a little bit milder tonight. Lows will be in the middle to upper 50s, maybe even some low 60s out there. And then as we get towards the day tomorrow, we're going to continue to see the cloudy skies, not expecting any rain, and the cloudy skies will keep the temperatures down a little bit, but they're still going to be easily above normal. So these warm temperatures are going to continue, and after tomorrow they're going to warm back up into the 80s. So I'll talk more about that and show you our next chance of rain coming up a bit later.
Thank you, Jacob.
Madison police are asking for your help to find a missing man. Take a look at your screen. This is 38-year-old Roy Fleming. He was last seen on August 29th wearing red and black pants, black shoes, and a black baseball hat. If you have any information about where Roy is, please call the Madison Police Department at 608-255-2345. Well, the federal government will shut down at midnight if Republicans and Democrats in Congress don't reach a deal to extend government funding.
It's an outcome experts say is becoming more likely. Arman Rahman joins us now with how you might be affected if a deal is not reached. Arman?
Brady and Susan, experts tell me it's a way of negotiating with crisis that's becoming all too common when we reach the new fiscal year on October 1st. Democrats are refusing to help Republicans extend government funding without addressing health insurance subsidies that are set to expire at the end of the year. Now, what does that mean for you? Constitutional law expert Howard Schwaber tells me this shutdown will have a much broader impact on the economy than previous ones. Due to the Trump administration's recent mass layoffs, staffing at the FAA and social services offices are already stretched thin. This could mean even after a shutdown, places like Social Security offices could be much smaller, less effective, and less responsive.
I mean, the short version is, office closures. And those may last only as long as the shutdown, and the shutdown may not last long. No, I don't honestly think that there is a great deal that people at home can do to prepare for this. This is kind of like a hurricane. Well, with a hurricane, you can put plywood up in the windows to protect them. With this, all you can do is keep a close eye on your bank balance. I wouldn't make any big expenditures this afternoon.
Now, according to the Office of Veterans Affairs, in a shutdown, the VA won't be able to provide veteran career counseling. The GI Bill hotline will be closed. Benefits regional offices will be closed, and other services for cemeteries and burial sites will stop. National parks and national monuments are also likely to close if the government does shut down. Now, coming up tonight at 5, I'll have more on how a shutdown could impact air and car travel across the country.
We will see you at 5, Armand. Thank you. Today is the last day Planned Parenthood of Wisconsin is offering abortion services. Last week, the organization said the president's cuts to Medicaid gutted its funding. With this change, Wisconsin will only have 2 clinics offering abortion services. They are both in Milwaukee, and they have to follow rules that public health officials say will lead to a backlog. During this time, anyone who finds themselves in need of abortion care and unsure what to do can contact Public Health Madison-Dane County's Nurse Navigators program. You can call or text the number on your screen between 8 and 4:30 on weekdays. Counseling is free and confidential.
We have more information about an incident that placed 2 schools in McFarland on a secure hold this morning. Police say they placed Indian Mound Middle School and McFarland High School on hold because of a domestic disturbance. A suspect was in the area. During the hold, no one was allowed to leave or go into the schools. At about 9:15 in the morning, police arrested the suspect and both schools resumed normal activities.
New information this afternoon. State regulators are suspending the license of the top veterinarian at the embattled beagle breeder Ridgeland Farms. Wisconsin's Department of Ag, Trade and Consumer Protection says Richard Van Domeligen delegated procedures like cherry eye removal surgeries to staff without proper licenses. The breeder, located in Blue Mounds, has faced scrutiny in recent years following accusations of animal cruelty. DATCAP received 311 violations against the facility and last week referred a case against Ridgeland to the Dane County District Attorney. This update comes despite the farm's denial of accusations. In a statement, Ridgeland said a USDA inspection found it is in full compliance with animal welfare regulations. A statement from Van Domelen said, quote, all of the animal care staff at Ridgeland Farms are highly dedicated individuals who care deeply about animals and regularly witness how our work directly translates into improved health for our family pets. The Sun Prairie School Board has a new member. Today, the district announced Danny Miller will serve through the spring 2026 election. Miller is currently working at the University of Wisconsin. He previously served as a high school English teacher before coming to Madison. Miller will replace Katie Kamoku. She recently resigned, saying that she wanted to focus on family, but her resignation comes amid scrutiny of the district over its handling of former Sun Prairie West High School Dean Robert Gilkey-Messigier, who's charged with child sex crimes. Reports allege members of the district staff failed to report the alleged crimes to police. Gilkey-Messigier's next court date is October 30th.
The Rock County Sheriff's Office is warning of scam calls. Officials say scammers are using names of active supervisors and deputies. They falsely say you have to send money to fix a legal matter. The scammers have even set up voicemail messages that mimic actual staff members, making calls appear more legitimate. The Sheriff's Office says so far the scam hasn't cost anyone any money. If you get a call, report it to the Rock County Communications Center. Well, this week, people from around the world are in the 608.
Yep, Josh Breiter tells us about the World Dairy Expo. That's coming up a little later on Live at 4.
And the weather remains unseasonably warm. Jacob Montesano tells us when the weather will cool down, if it's going to happen anytime soon in the First Warn forecast.
And you might have noticed your coffee is getting more expensive lately. We'll tell you why this is happening and whether your morning routine will continue to cost a little bit more when we come back.
Welcome back. Tomorrow is the beginning of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Breast cancer is the second leading cause of cancer deaths in women. 1 in 8 will be diagnosed with the disease in their lifetime, and there is a continued rise of women under 50 being diagnosed. CBS News Chief Medical Correspondent Dr. John LaPook says artificial intelligence is helping identify cases.
You have a mammogram done, and the AI actually, even before the radiologist sees it, can put a little box around areas that are potentially dangerous. And the reason why that's important is that normal breast tissue looks white. A calcification, which can be indicative of, not always, but indicative of breast cancer, is also white. So it's like looking for a snowball on a snowdrift. And sometimes human eyes are not as good as the AI at finding it.
The American Cancer Society recommends women start talking with their doctor about screening at age 40. Doctors also recommend women use a breast cancer assessment tool to gauge their risk.
Trufu is recalling some of its freeze-dried fruit that could contain metal fragments. Affected items are Trufu's freeze-dried strawberries in dark chocolate, white chocolate, and strawberries and cream. You might have bought them at CVS or Target. A report of metal in the product came from a customer, but luckily no one was hurt.
Well, some of you have probably noticed this in the morning. Coffee prices are rising dramatically. The price of a pound of coffee has jumped more than $2.50 compared to last year. President Trump's tariffs are partly to blame. In April, most countries got hit with a 10% tariff in addition to another hike recently. Brazil, where many coffee chains get their beans, now has a 50% tax. Starbucks says customers shouldn't expect price increases until the first half of 2026. But the brands behind Folgers, Café Bustelo, and Dunkin's at-home products say you can expect price hikes for a third time this year.
To Wall Street, the Dow is up 82 points, the Nasdaq is up 69, and the S&P 500 closed up 27. Well, tomorrow, Hamas says it will give mediators its response to President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's plan to end the war in Gaza. The proposal calls for an immediate ceasefire, the release of all remaining hostages in exchange for Palestinians Israel has imprisoned, the staged withdrawal of Israeli forces, and the free flow of full humanitarian aid. Israel cannot occupy or annex Gaza. Hamas claims it's mulling the deal in good faith.
Today, President Trump addressed a rare gathering of top military leaders this morning at Quantico Marine Corps based in Virginia.
He rallied the troops, but also talked about a new focus for the military. Natalie Brand has more details from the White House.
Before an unprecedented meeting of hundreds of generals and admirals, President Trump rallied the troops.
To each and every one of you, I thank you for your unwavering devotion to the armed forces and to the country that we've all sworn a sacred oath to defend.
But also shared his vision that defending the homeland should be the military's first priority.
After spending trillions of dollars defending the borders of foreign countries, with your help, we're defending the borders of our country from now on.
He talked about expanding deployments of the National Guard to other U.S. cities, singling out those run by Democratic leaders.
Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, they're very unsafe places, and we're going to straighten them out one by one. And this is going to be a major part for some of the people in this room. That's a war, too. It's a war from within.
Critics of this rare meeting raised concerns about security and also cost, with military officials traveling from their posts around the world on short notice.
There's a little bit of expense, not much, but there's a little expense to that. We don't like to waste it. We'd rather spend it on bullets and rockets, frankly.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth delivered remarks ahead of the president, promoting what he calls a warrior ethos and railing against past initiatives focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion.
As I've said before, and will say again, we are done with that.
Hegseth also announced a new directive that all combat positions return to the, quote, highest male standard, and he ordered a department-wide review of existing physical fitness standards. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
Secretary Hegseth said the fitness standards would apply to flag soldiers as well as on duty, as well as active duty soldiers, saying it was completely unacceptable to see fat generals and admirals walking through the halls of the Pentagon.
Breaking news today, Madison police say they've arrested a teenager today for a shooting earlier this month. Police served search warrants on Bunting Lane and Elliott Lane related to the shooting on East Main Street from September 12th. That afternoon, a 19-year-old arrived at UW Health Clinic with a gunshot wound. The suspect police arrested is 16 years old and facing charges for first-degree reckless injury and armed robbery. Let's get a look at your first warn forecast. Here's meteorologist Jacob Montesano. Jacob?
Thanks, Brady. We're going to continue to see these high temperatures at least in the upper 70s, if not mostly in the 80s for the rest of the week. And during this time, we're also not really going to see much rain, pretty much no chance of rain until a little bit later in the weekend. And then once we do see that rain early next week, not going to see a lot of it, but we will see some cooler temperatures following it. So there is some more fall-like temperatures on the horizon, but for the rest of this week, still going to be very summer-like. Now, tonight, we're going to see a little bit more cloud cover than what we have seen the last couple of days, with lows dropping into the middle and upper 50s, some lower 60s out there. And then looking at the forecast for tomorrow, with the cloud cover, temperatures will be a little bit cooler, but still easily above normal. Upper 70s, a few low 80s will be in the forecast. And then from there, it's going to rise back up with middle 80s in the forecast for Friday and Saturday, maybe even middle upper upper 80s on Friday. And then once we get towards next week, again, we will see some cooler temperatures, especially Tuesday and Wednesday. But the normal high this time of year is supposed to be in the upper 60s. By next week, it'll be in the middle 60s. So the upper 60s will actually still be a little bit warm compared to normal. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about Friday's high because it very well could break the record for the highest temperature that day, which is October 3rd. Previous record was 85 degrees and our forecast is 87. Now, for reference, the last 90-degree day Madison has ever had in the season is October 13th. Back in 1975, it did hit 90. We do have an outside chance of hitting 90 on Friday. Obviously, it wouldn't be the latest, but it's possible that Friday is the last chance we will see the 90s until next year. Now, we are likely going to see the 80s at some point again, but the 90s look to be very uncommon after Friday. And even Friday, we're expecting 80s. Now, as you can see, not going to see much rain over the next couple of days either. We'll see that cloud cover tomorrow with clear skies returning for Thursday and Friday. But even as we get to the weekend, we're still not expecting much rainfall. Later in the weekend, we may start to see a little bit. Looking off to the northwest, it's going to slowly move into the region, but it's likely not going to enter our area until later Sunday night and then into Monday, where we will see a few light showers, maybe an isolated storm. But as far as the amount of rain that's expected, we're really not going to see much. So looking at the full 7 to 10-day forecast, in general, very dry and very warm, especially for the rest of this week. But we are going to see that rain chance increase a little bit for Monday. Still, though, not going to see a lot of rain, and then we'll see temperatures more seasonable for a good chunk of next week.
Thank you, Jacob. With 188 donations yesterday, News 3 Now's Coats for Kids campaign has received a total of 2,427 coats to keep Dane County kids warm this winter.
We're still collecting them, and we still need your help. We're trying to raise $5,000 by October 4th, which is this weekend. You have until then to drop off any new or gently used winter gear to any Clinky Cleaners in Dane County. And thanks to everyone who has donated so far.
We've got this. We can do this. Well, coming up on Live at 4, Josh Spreiter is at the World Dairy Expo for its first day.
He tells us what the mission of the event is and how you can be a part of it when we come back.
In the 608, the World Dairy Expo is officially underway in Madison this week.
Welcome everyone who's visiting for the World Dairy Expo. Josh Spreiter is on the grounds at the Alliant Energy Center with more on the local impact.
Well, it is the first official day of the World Dairy Expo, which got underway in Madison today, and we're lucky enough to have the general manager of the World Dairy Expo joining us, Laura Hirschleb. Laura, thanks so much for having us out.
Thank you so much for coming out. We're thrilled to have you here and so excited to welcome back attendees from all over the world for this year's World Dairy Expo.
You know, this is such a special week, and you guys are expecting around 50,000 people to descend on the Alliant Energy Center this week.
We sure are, and it's so amazing. We expect folks from 90 to 100 different countries around the globe, and it's really, as I said earlier, all about the people. It's all about everyone coming together and celebrating that common interest, the dairy cow and the dairy industry.
Why is it so important for us to keep focusing on the dairy industry, especially here in Wisconsin?
Well, I think like so many industries, they continue to evolve, right? And they continue to advance. And that's one of the things that's showcased right here at World Dairy Expo is those different advancements, whether it's in technology, whether it's in the cattle genetics, whether it's in things to come or product launches. So we're thrilled to be able to provide that platform that is this event.
And this is such a big week. Obviously, you can see a lot of farmers, they're getting their cattle ready because there will be shows, there's trade shows, a little bit of everything.
Yes, exactly. We had youth contests that started over the weekend. Our cattle show started on Sunday. We have some brown Swiss that are getting washed. Our brown Swiss show starts this afternoon. This morning, we have our Jersey show and Ayrshire cows that'll be showing. So it is busy. It is jam-packed all the way through about Friday evening.
So if people want to come out, they can help make a difference here and support you guys in your mission this week.
Yeah, no question. I encourage them to look at worlddairyexpo.com, plan their visit. We occupy all 164 acres of the Alliant Energy Center. So, you know, plan where you want to go. Plan your must-see, places that you want to stop or folks that you want to talk to, cattle exhibitors you might want to see your animals and check out.
Awesome. Well, Laura, thank you so much for spending some time with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Josh. Thanks for being here.
You bet. And if you'd like to learn more about what's happening at the World Dairy Expo this week, just go to the story up on channel3000.com. In Madison, I'm Josh Spreiter, News 3 Now.
Thank you, Josh. A local teacher is receiving a national honor.
Miles Tokheim, who teaches at Vel Phillips Memorial High School, got a $50,000 prize for excellence in skilled trades education. He's just one of 25 teachers around the country and only 1 in 5 in Wisconsin receiving the honor. This morning, students and staff presented him with the prize, and he had no idea it was coming.
It was a complete surprise. I'm amazed they kept it quiet, honestly. Yeah, I was completely shocked when all of a sudden everybody kind of came in. It's pretty amazing.
Congratulations. The money comes from the Harbor Freight Tools for Schools program. It will go to Vel Phillips Automotive Services Excellence Program, which Mr. Tokheim leads.
He had quite the smile on his face.
Yes, he did.
That's
I love a
wonderful.
surprise.
Well, in our next half hour, the government is poised to shut down at midnight.
How it could affect travel and everything, a lot of other things as well, when Live at 4 returns.
You're watching News 3 Now, live at 4.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Live at 4. As we say goodbye to September, I'm seeing people question whether it's too hot to decorate for Halloween.
I know that's true. Actually, I'm thinking maybe we should put up our Christmas lights this weekend. Seize the day.
Yeah, get it done while you can.
Before reality sets in. The weather words for today: it is staying summer-like. Jacob Montesano is in the nice, cool studio. It's too hot on the patio today.
Yeah, every time you step outside in the afternoon the last couple of days, it does not feel like September, and it feels more like the heart of summer. But it not only is it September, but October is tomorrow. So it really is going to remain very summer-like. Temperatures are going to possibly peak in the middle to upper 80s over the next couple of days. As we take a look at the current temperatures, middle 80s for much of the region. Some areas in the upper 70s, but for the most part, we are seeing 80s for a lot of areas. Now, as we take a look at where we're supposed to be, the normal high is 67. Today, it's the high was 83 so far. 83 at least, so we're much closer to the record. Not going to break the record today, but we might break the record a little bit later in the forecast. I'll talk about that later. But as we look at the current radar, not just across Wisconsin, but across the entire Great Lakes and Midwest region, very, very dry right now. Although it's going to remain dry this evening, it will be cloudy with temperatures dropping into the 60s by around 8 p.m. And then the cloudy skies overnight will kind of keep those temperatures a little bit on the warmer side, middle to upper 50s. Some lower 60s will be in the forecast. But I'll talk more in detail about the warm weather still going forward. All of that coming up a bit later.
All right, Jacob, these are days to savor. Bottle them for January. Thank you. Now to an update on the story of a Madison area priest charged with attempting to commit child sex crimes. Today, Andrew Showers pleaded not guilty in court in Wapaka County. A judge set his bond at $10,000. Showers is charged with 1 count of attempting to use a computer to facilitate a child sex crime, 1 count of attempted child enticement, and 1 count of attempted second-degree sexual assault of a child.
Showers is currently restricted from all public ministry and barred from contact with minors. A parent reported Showers over concerns about questions the priest allegedly asked their child during confession. Police ultimately arrested Showers after he tried to meet a 14-year-old girl in Clintonville for sex. His next court date is scheduled for December 3rd.
At the U.S. Capitol, Congress has until midnight to pass a bill to fund the government or watch it shut down. That could lead to the furlough and firing of a large number of federal workers. Vice President J.D. Vance met with congressional leaders and the president, but couldn't come to an agreement yet.
Republicans have proposed a short-term bill to keep the government open through mid-November. That measure passed the House earlier this month, but Democrats say any deal has to address health care, including an extension of subsidies under the Affordable Care Act to prevent a premium hike at the end of the year. Republicans say doing that will take weeks and can't be addressed in time for the continuing resolution. Democratic U.S. Senator Tammy Baldwin responded to that claim earlier today.
That's simply not true. We have legislation available right now that would extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits. And I know that several of my Republican colleagues want to get this done.
Wisconsin Congressman Glenn Grothman released a statement calling on Democrats to agree to the deal, despite the fact it does not include the Affordable Care Act expansion. It reads in part, "It's up to Democrat leaders to prioritize the American people over political games and prevent a shutdown." He also says if a shutdown does occur, we should use the opportunity to review government positions and identify unnecessary roles.
If the government does shut down tonight, airports across the country could see impacts.
More than 58,000 TSA employees and 13,000 air traffic controllers would be working without pay. Chris Van Cleve is at Denver's airport with what flyers can expect.
We don't expect major disruptions tomorrow or the rest of this week if people show up at an airport like here in Denver. But if this shutdown is measured in weeks, not days, or stretches even longer than that, that's when we need to prepare for the potential of disruptions and delays. And I'm basing that off what we saw play out back in 2018 when we had a 35-day shutdown starting in December. As soon as that first missed paycheck, so think about 2 weeks in, we started to see sick calls from TSA officers really increase at airports across the country. That led to longer lines at checkpoints, so it took people longer to get through security. Some checkpoints had to be closed, and in one case in Miami, they even had to close an entire terminal because there weren't enough TSA officers to staff it. Now, TSA officers are not high-paid government workers, so missing a paycheck can have a profound impact. Air traffic controllers would also work without pay, and in January of 2019, air traffic control sick calls resulted in significant flight disruptions in the New York City area shortly before the shutdown ended. There is a shortage of air traffic controllers. During a shutdown, hiring and training of new hires generally stops. That would slow efforts to get more controllers on the job quickly. Amtrak should operate normally because while it receives federal funds, it is operated as an independent entity. Travelers heading to national parks, they're likely to be in for a disappointment. Most national parks will close to the public during a shutdown. The U.S. Travel Association estimates the cost of a government shutdown to the U.S. travel economy to be around $1 billion a week. Chris Van Cleve, CBS News, Denver.
Next on Live at 4, we continue to celebrate day one of the World Dairy Expo.
Our crew is live at the Alliant Energy Center this afternoon with what it means to the dairy community to have this event in Madison every year.
And the forecast is set to stay unseasonably warm through the end of the week. But could we see a cool down after that? Jacob Montesano shows us.
Plus, it may not feel like it, but winter is just around the corner. How you can get ahead of seasonal depression. We'll talk about that later on Live at 4. Well, the World Dairy Expo is back in full swing. Once again, Madison is the center of the dairy universe.
How about that? News 3 Now's Jalen Banks joins us live from the expo. Jalen, how's it all going?
Brady and Susan, I'm currently inside the Alliant Energy Center, surrounded by pretty much what the best things the dairy industry has to offer. Now, just over my shoulder here is all but a fraction of the thousands of cows here this week for the World Dairy Expo. Now, even though we're celebrating the World Dairy Expo and all the great things a part of the industry, today has a slightly different theme and focus. Today is actually Youth Day. I had the chance to catch up with a few FFA students this afternoon, just talking about what this industry means to them and what it'll look like once they take over.
The fact that the people in the industry do want to focus on the youth to continue that lineage of having people interested in dairy and interested in agriculture. And I think FFA plays a big role in that as well with the events we competed in, the leadership conferences we attend.
Now, tonight at 5, we'll hear from a current dairy farmer on the lessons that they're passing on to the next generation, the things that they've gotten from their grandparents, their parents, and so on, and just the generations of wealth of knowledge that they've been able to gather throughout the years. But for now, I'm going to send it back to you guys in studio. Reporting live from the Alliant Energy Center at the World Dairy Expo, Jalen Banks, News 3 Now.
Big deal. Thank you, Jalen. We can hear those barn fans humming. It's a little toasty for the dairy cows. We could use one of those in the studio today. Coming up on Live at 4, Jacob Montesano has the forecast, and he'll tell us when it might get a little cooler.
And after a tie on Sunday, the Packers are on a bye week. Our senior Packers writer Jason Wilde shows us how the Pack is prepping for the next game later. Oh, look at those cows having just a nice day at the World Dairy Expo at the Alliant Energy Center, where our Jalen Banks is live. He'll bring us more coverage of the event later on in our newscast.
What are they saying to each other, those two?
We love Madison.
We're on television.
Look at us. We are famous.
Well, as daylight starts to diminish this time of the year, you may find that your mood is dimming a little bit as well.
About 1 in 20 adults has seasonal affective disorder, which is seasonal depression, and millions more experience a milder form of the winter blues. UW Health's Dr. Jeff Potoff is here with ways to fend it off.
Hi, Dr. Potoff.
Yeah, it's easy to feel a little down in the winter, but there's scientific explanations for it.
Yeah, they think with seasonal affective disorder, there's two theories. So one is called the photoperiod theory, and that's where as we get towards winter, there's more darkness. We know that melatonin is more actively secreted from our brains when it's dark, and people who have suffer from seasonal affective disorder, you can actually measure more melatonin. Similar to how bears hibernate, more melatonin, they go to sleep. We don't sleep, but we kind of feel down and maybe a little bit depressed. The other theory is phase shift. So basically, we kind of switch our circadian rhythm, and it's darker longer in the morning, which sometimes makes it hard for us to kind of get up and going, which then leads into some of the treatment, which can be, light to kind of like make your body think that the night's not so long and that it's not so dark when you wake up.
That's so interesting. If you start to feel a little melancholy at the change of seasons, it's a real thing. It's not just in your head.
No, right. And there's people who have depression who will get worse in the winter, but there's people who typically don't have any kind of depression who will say, you know what, like I just don't feel quite right as we get into fall and winter.
I read an article, and I can't remember which publication it was in, but it was saying that light therapy, that you should start doing it now to get ahead of it. Is that something that you'd recommend?
Yeah, I think certainly, let's say in previous winters you've felt this way. You certainly don't want to wait until you're feeling really bad. Usually about now, this time of year, you want to start exposing yourself to that light, typically in the morning. The studies suggest that morning's better than any other time of day. And about 10,000 lux, that's a measure of brightness. That's what these lights are going to be like, usually about 1 foot to 2 feet away from you for like 30 minutes or so. And studies show that it can be sometimes comparable to taking an antidepressant.
Oh, that's interesting. What other treatments are there besides light therapy?
There's a few things. So related to like light therapy with a box, there's dawn simulation. So this is when you have a light in your room and as you get towards morning, it turns on and it's not very bright. And over 90 minutes, it gets brighter as if you're kind of like simulating a sunrise earlier than the real sunrise.
Interesting.
Antidepressants are actually very effective. So, if you're struggling, the light box isn't working, serotonin reuptake inhibitors can sometimes help with that. And then you want to do other things like make sure that you're, going to bed at a regular time, that you're avoiding screens in the room, keep things cool. A lot of people with this will sometimes have trouble with insomnia. They can't sleep. So you want to make sure that the environment's, good for that.
And you can't just stare at your refrigerator light when you're looking for a snack, right? You need to pick a good lamp.
I don't think anyone's done that study, but I would suggest maybe getting a light meant for this. And if you have any questions, talk to your primary care doctor, a psychiatrist, a therapist. They should be able to give you some tips.
Yeah, very good. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you bet.
All right, and it doesn't seem like winter is likely anytime soon. Here's Jacob with our first warn forecast.
Yeah, we're definitely feeling still like summer, and that's going to continue for the rest of the week. Highs are going to continuously be in the 80s, and as we take a look at the amount of rain that's in the forecast for this week, we're not really going to see any of it until potentially the weekend, but especially next week, there will be a better chance of rain, and following that, we'll see some cooler temperatures. So for tonight, we'll see cloudy skies, lows in the middle to upper 50s, a pretty normal night as we head into Wednesday morning. And then Wednesday afternoon, we're going to continue to see cloudy skies, at least a little bit more cloud cover than today and certainly yesterday. High temperatures a few degrees cooler, upper 70s, low 80s, but still very comfortable and very easily above normal. Now, as we take a look at the highs from there, they're going to rise back up into the 80s for the end of the week, middle to upper 80s Friday, middle 80s over the weekend. Then the rain comes, especially the best chance of rain will be on Monday. Still not going to see a ton of precipitation, but that will really cool the temperatures off for Tuesday and Wednesday. Upper 60s will be in the forecast, but as you can see, that's actually very close to where we normally are supposed to be for this time of the year. Now, before I show you the precipitation chances, as we take a look at Friday's forecast, we are going to see a forecasted high of 87 and the record is 85. So that really goes to show you how above normal these temperatures are. The record of 85 set back in 2005. 5 and 2 other times as well. And also for reference, the latest time Madison hit 90 degrees was October 13th back in 1975, where the high that day was 90. Now, the reason I'm showing you this is because Friday looks like the last chance that we will hit 90. We still have a forecast in the 80s, but once those temperatures fall next week, I don't expect them to rise back into the level that they're going to be Friday going forward. Now, looking at the cloud cover and rain forecast, we're going to continue to see cloudy skies tonight and tomorrow, but then Thursday will feature plenty of sunshine, and then we're going to continue to see those sunny skies for the end of the week with pretty much no chance of rain until we get towards the end of the weekend and early next week. Monday into Monday night, that will be the best chance of rain, but I still don't expect to see too much. So very summer-like for the rest of this week. Also want to point out that the Badgers game in Michigan will feature very similar conditions to us here in Madison, sunny skies and warm temperatures. Next week will be a little bit more fall-like with upper 60s and low 70s for highs.
Well, tomorrow on Live at 4, we have a list of things for you and your family to do during this first weekend of October in the 608. And coming up on News 3 Now at 5, Armand Rahman speaks with Wisconsin agencies about the potential impact of a government shutdown, what it could mean for you. Thanks for watching Live at 4 today. We'll see you back here tomorrow. You can always find us streaming 24/7 on Channel 3000+. News 3 Now at 5 starts right now.